To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make.
If not for threats and intimidation and record-breaking stupidity, of course, Donald Trump wouldn't really have an arrow to put into his quiver, as it were. Bret Baier, his pal and golf partner and holiday pal-around guy, the Walter Cronkite of Fox News, did a little interview with Donald Trump yesterday and asked him a few questions. And one of the ones that I want to talk about is the element of getting to what's in Donald Trump's mind and heart concerning the victory speech of Zohran Mamdani, the mayor-elect of New York City, that really took a dark turn. Not surprising, not shocked by it, but it's still alarming to hear. We should never lose our outrage. We should never lose being shocked at the norms that are broken, at the decency that has just been jettisoned by the President of the United States. And that's what this is. This is the President of the United States of America making ominous, weird threats, sideways threats against the mayor of a city. Not the governor, not another world leader, not someone who's not American, an American citizen. Not a congressperson, not a senator, the mayor of a city. And Donald Trump veers into ominous, dangerous territory here when he is trying to categorize the victory speech that I talked about yesterday. If you watched the show yesterday, you know that I pointed out the 250 word part of his speech that has really gone viral. It's the most interesting part of the speech, the most hopeful part of the speech, the part of the speech filled with joy and victory and triumph, of togetherness, that we together can change things. I talked about that 250 words containing the word I only 3 times. He said me once and I 3 times. The rest of it was about us, about what we can accomplish together, what we will do. You're going to have to get through all of us if you're going to come for us. It was a beautiful moment. And in order to paint it as something other than what it was, you have to dip out of a reality-based atmosphere. Donald Trump says that it was dangerous while leveling weird, ominous threats. Anyway, here's the clip, and in the clip, they're going to play part of Zohran Mamdani's speech. And again, it was anything but dangerous or angry or whatever other monikers Donald Trump put on it. Watch this.
Did you see his victory speech?
By the way, it's literally never worked. Yeah, I thought it was a very angry speech, certainly angry toward me, and I think he should be very nice to me. You know, I'm the one that sort of has to approve a lot of things coming to him, so he's off to a bad start.
At one point he says, turn the volume up.
So hear me, President Trump, when I say this. To get to any of us, you will have to get through all of us.
How do you respond to that? Does that affect anything you're going to do?
It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. He has to be a little bit respectful of Washington, because if he's not, he doesn't have a chance of succeeding. And I want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed, and we'll see what happens.
Did you see reaching out to him?
I would say he should reach out to us, really. I think he should reach out. Right. I'm here. We'll see what happens, but I would think that it would be more appropriate for him to reach out to us.
All right. So there's 3 things that I want to talk about related to his comments there. One is that he says that it was an angry speech. Well, at least it was angry toward me. I just think he needs to be very nice to me, says the President of the United States. Those are words that came out of this strong man's mouth. This is the guy that Republicans Photoshop onto Rambo's body. This is the guy they act like is a steely-eyed warrior, afraid of none. And he said with his own mouth, I think he should be very nice to me. I thought it was a very angry speech. certainly it was angry toward me. I think he should be nice to me. Oh, and then it goes dark. And then it goes very dark. That it's a very dangerous statement. The turning up the volume thing. Is it dangerous because he's indicating, I don't know exactly what Zohran Mamdani meant when he said turn up the volume. I don't know if he's poking fun at the octogenarian Donald Trump, who is obvious in severe cognitive decline, yet trying to grasp at masculinity at every stretch. I don't know what he meant by it. Maybe it's just you need to listen to this, so make sure the TV's turned up so you can hear it. Maybe it's just that. There was no danger. There was no threat communicated, but Donald Trump wants to make it ominous. It's a very dangerous statement for him to make, actually. And, you know, you talk about danger. Nobody talked about danger. Nobody talked about danger. And, you know, you talk about danger. I think it's a very dangerous statement for him to make. And then the other element of this is a continuation of the threats that he has made against Zohran Mamdani and the city of New York itself to withhold federal funding because the people of New York voted for someone Donald Trump didn't want in office, punishing their speech, attempting to compel their speech, it's just like the goon squads you used to hear with their nightsticks and their clubs to try to intimidate people to vote their way in elections. Donald Trump's doing the same thing, just using modern means, just using social media to do so. It's an impeachable offense, without a doubt. And he says two things that are just countervailant. Is that the term? I want to make the city succeed. He flubs first. I want to make him succeed. I don't want to make him succeed. I want to make the city succeed. Well, you're going to call him? No, he needs to call me. Donald Trump's so desperate to make the city of New York succeed that he won't even place a phone call. He wants the newly elected mayor of New York City to call the office of the fascist. That's what he wants. Remarkable stuff here from Donald Trump. Remarkable stuff continuing from Fox News to show no objectivity whatsoever. All they're doing is propping up and disseminating the propaganda that the White House chooses them to disseminate. It's gross all the way around. And it really does paint a stark and dangerous picture for the next 3 years with Donald Trump. I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below the video.
I do say this, beef we have to get down. I think of groceries. You know, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word. Beef we have to get down, but we've got prices way down.
Donald Trump sometimes strikes me as like a kid in a fairy tale or a fantasy movie that if you close your eyes and you wish hard enough, it'll come true. And yesterday, during this interview that was conducted by Bret Baier that I've already talked about, Bret Baier comes to him with a comment from a voter, a question from a voter to the President of the United States, a lifelong North Carolina Republican, a woman named Regina Foley, voted for Donald Trump not once, not twice, but 3 times. A very Trumpian character, not an opponent of Donald Trump, not a naysayer, not a radical left lunatic Democrat, none of that. Lifelong Republican, voted for Donald Trump, saw the damage that Donald Trump did in his first term and voted for him again in 2020, and then saw all of the chaos from Donald Trump, all of the criminality, all of the indictments of Donald Trump, and voted for him again in 2024. This is a Trump person. And she is feeling the pain of the Trump economy, the high prices, the job losses. Like she's witnessing with her own pocketbook. She's experiencing the pains that Donald Trump has disseminated on the people of the United States and by extension, the globe. And Donald Trump's answer is, no, that's not happening. You're fine. Everything's fine. Don't worry about that. Trust me that things are actually good. Prices are down. I know you're paying more at the pump. I know you're paying more for groceries. But that's not true. Actually, everything's great. Because if you close your eyes and wish hard enough, apparently, what you wish for comes true in the mind of our addled demented moron of a president. Watch this remarkable moment from Donald Trump and Bret Baier during their weird stand-up interview.
You know, when we talked about this interview happening, we had people reach out from around the country. Regina Foley messaged me, and she says she is retired in Greensboro, North Carolina. She is a registered Republican all her life. She voted for you 3 different times, but she is not happy about how her prices have not come down that she sees. And she said this, quote, "I want the Republicans to keep control of Congress in 2026, but something has to be done fast. I don't see the best economy right now. Wall Street numbers do not reflect my Main Street money. Please do something, President Trump." So I guess what do you say to Regina and people like her?
Well, I do say this. Beef we have to get down. I think of groceries. You know, it's an old-fashioned word, but it's a beautiful word. Beef we have to get down, but we've got prices way down. And think of this. Energy. She drives a car, probably, and her energy prices are way down. And energy is so all-encompassing. It's so big that when energy goes down, everything comes down. Everything follows it. And I have energy down to 5-6 year lows now.
You think prices are coming down from this?
I believe that. Yeah, I think they're coming down, but I think they're down already. I think the biggest problem is Republicans don't talk about it. They don't talk about the word affordability, and the Democrats lie about it.
I am convinced, I'm nearly convinced that what they do is Trump is like Neo in the Matrix, where you lay back in the thing and they plug you in the back of the dome, and then they just upload information, because every time he's just got these preordained statements that he makes. Groceries, I think of groceries, you know, it's an old-fashioned, he goes with the same thing that he said over and over, that he's been mocked and derided over because it's a stupid thing to say. You think of groceries, an old-fashioned word. What are you talking about? Continuing to talk about it. But we've got prices way down, and think of this, energy. You do not have prices way down. There are a couple sectors in our economy that are doing okay, but largely things are not good. We just got a jobs report today that just in this year alone, 1 million corporate jobs lost. 153,000 just this last month in October. The worst job losses since October of 2003. 2003. 22 years, more than a generation ago. It's been more than a generation since we've seen this kind of thing. Here's MSNBC, not MSNBC, here's CNBC talking about it. And there were several clips out there. CNN talked about it this morning. Fox News talked about it this morning. But CNBC is a financial news network. They are, even some of the people they have on their air right now are pro-Trump people. And there's nothing that they can say other than, oh shit, this does not portend good things for the American economy coming up when we are a generation removed from the kind of damage that's being done and the job losses. This is just the beginning. This isn't celebratory to talk about this. We just need to deal with the facts on the ground. We need to exist in reality and know that the reason that this is happening is because of the deleterious effects of Donald Trump's policies. All of any economist worth their salt, or whatever the saying is, knew that this was going to happen. This has been predicted. It has been foretold by the sage prophets, who are big-brained eggheads who understand the causal relationship between tariffs and some of the other policies that Donald Trump has put forth, including skyrocketing our national debt through paying off millionaires and billionaires with his tax cut. Watch CNBC sound the alarm.
About the health of the job market. Steve Leisman joins us with the latest numbers from Challenger on job cuts. What's going on?
Yeah, well, this is like a clue from like a cough or a sneeze or whatever. But announced corporate job cuts, Andrew, in the U.S. surging past 1 million so far this year, with 153,000 new layoffs announced just in October, according to Challenger. That is the worst October since 2003. Here are the numbers. October up 153. That compares with September. That's 100,000 more than September, and 100,000 more than this time last year in October 2024. Andy Challenger commenting, some industries are correcting after the hiring boom of the pandemic, but this comes as AI adoption, softening consumer and corporate spending, and rising costs drive belt tightening and hiring freezes. Announced layoffs don't always lead to actual cuts and could take place from attrition. But the report puts in perspective what we've been reporting here day after day, week after week. Series of marquee announcements unveiled in recent weeks across U.S. industries, including UPS, Amazon, Target, among others, Paramount, Rivian, all these companies there. Government has been responsible year to date for 308,000. But look at that, tech 141. That could be where you see a lot of the AI, maybe some in warehousing, but a big chunk of that's going to be UPS, as well as potentially some hit from reduced flows of trade. Retail's up there, as is services at 64,000. You take out the Doge cuts, the number's a bit better at 800,000, but still well above last year. Challenger doesn't see much in the way of hiring, saying announced plans are 35% below last year, and they're skeptical about the number of new hires for the holiday season.
Things are not looking good. Real people are losing their jobs. Families are struggling to pay for groceries, for their bills, for their rent and their mortgages because of the policies of Donald Trump. And when asked, what's he say? No, things are good. Things are better than they've ever been. He did a speech at like some business summit or some business conference yesterday where he was saying this same kind of thing. I'm not going to play a clip of it because it's just the same lies. It's just the same departure from reality that we can expect from the president of the United States now. Winter Republicans, it seems like maybe they're starting to wake up. I don't know, obviously, this Regina Foley, but Regina, sister, what are you doing? This is your guy who's telling you the thing you're experiencing, you're not experiencing because groceries is an old-fashioned word. A retired lady who's very likely on some kind of a fixed income, certainly not living high on the hog if she's asking the questions about the pain she's feeling, not wildly wealthy where these kind of impacts don't crash down on her. And Donald Trump tells her, you're fine. Everything's fine. Just because things are fine for you, Donald Trump, doesn't mean they're fine for the rest of us.
For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on.
When are Republicans and the mainstream media going to start asking questions and showing some concern at all about the cognitive health of Donald Trump? When is Jake Tapper, the guy who cashed all kinds of checks when he wrote his book about the cognitive decline and situation with Joe Biden? When is the Jake Tapper branded alarm bell going to start ringing? A ding, a ding, a ding. A ding, a ding, a ding, Jake Tapper. When are we going to see that? Because Donald Trump on a daily basis makes gaffes that should be making bigger headlines, bigger news. In this first clip I'm going to play for you, he confuses South Africa and South America and floats seamlessly back and forth between the two. He's talking about the migration of people escaping communism and the dangers of communism and tyranny, landing in Miami from South Africa. He means South America. And it's just a furious, dangerous mix of idiocy and tyranny from Donald Trump and dementia and just sheer decline. And they won't give us any answers about exactly what his state is. They live in a fantasy land about where he is, about who he is, about what he is. A fantasy land. Watch this.
To those places. For generations, Miami has been a haven for those fleeing communist tyranny in South Africa. I mean, if you take a look at what's going on in parts of South Africa, look at South Africa, what's going on. Look at South America, what's going on. You know, I'm not going to, we have a G20 meeting in South Africa. South Africa shouldn't even be in the Gs anymore because what's happened there is bad. I'm not going. I told him I'm not going. I'm not going to represent our country there. It shouldn't be there. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of South America. Take a look at what's happening in different parts of the world. But now the Democrats.
Again, this is scary, dangerous, and it is fantasy land. Maybe that's the thumbnail, is fantasy land. Mark that down, Chris. That's the thumbnail. Fantasyland. In the interview with Bret Baier yesterday, he made a pronouncement, a proclamation. He made a claim that just, to say it strains credulity or just doesn't mesh with the actual situation on the ground is laughable. This is an all caps ha 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 moment. This is a ridiculous thing that he said. He's talking about tariffs, talking about the economy. And he says, he said that we're the hottest economy in the world. We're hot as a pistol now, this country. We're on top of things, even though prices are on the rise. Inflation ticked up every month since like September, October. It's ticking. We're seeing inflation on the rise. A million job loss. This year alone, 153,000 in October. And Donald Trump is saying that without his tariffs, without the damage to the economy he's done to the world and more specifically to the United States, we would be in a global depression. It is so, here's the clip. It is so stupid. It's even beyond explanation. It's beyond commentary. It leaves me speechless. It's so stupid. Watch the President of the United States say it.
Saying you're happy with what you came out of it.
If I didn't have tariffs, we would right now, the entire world would be in a depression. Because, that wasn't a threat against us. That was a threat against the entire world. I did this for the world. But yeah, I would say that I can guarantee you this, if I didn't put 100% tariff immediately on China, the entire world, because of magnets, a special kind of rare earth, etc., right, would be closed up. Without the benefit of tariffs, we would not. We had a very successful meeting with President Xi of China and others. And without tariffs, that would not have taken.
Fantasy land. And it's not just Donald Trump. This thing has trickled down. It is infectious, apparently. It is like there's a pandemic that has only affected the Republican minds. Lisa McClain yesterday was on CNN and was talking about the impact of the election, this last election that just happened, where every single county in Virginia swung major to the left, huge. Every single, it was a bloodbath for Republicans electorally. New Jersey, Virginia, New York City, Prop 50 in California, the mayor's race in I believe, Detroit. It was just insane. And she says, obviously, I shouldn't have to explain it, but maybe I should. Obviously, that's because of people's dissatisfaction. That's because of the Republican policies and what the damage that are being done to people's lives, to people's pocketbooks, to people's communities, the masked secret police in the streets. Every single element, every metric of Donald Trump's performance has been shitty. It has been terrible. And people know it. Even Republicans know it. And that's why they either stayed home or voted for Democrats. But not if you listen to Lisa McClain. Fantasyland. She says the reason there was such a blue wave, if you will, is because Republicans are so happy with the economy that they stayed home. Watch this.
Trump told Republicans earlier this morning, according to a source talking to CNN, that Republicans are getting killed politically on the shutdown. And if you look at what happened last night, it is hard to say that there is anything in the election results. And I'm looking at not just like, I get it, New Jersey's a Democratic state, but looking at Republican counties, looking at Republican sheriffs that lost their jobs. It's hard to see anything last night that was an endorsement of what the Republican Party is doing right now.
Yeah, well, let me give you the other side of that story. Is voter turnout from Republicans was not high, not high at all. But I think part of that reason is because Republicans, for the most part, are happy with what's happening. The border's closed, crime is down. Inflation under Biden used to be 9%. It's now down to 3%. Interest rates are down, mortgages down. Let me just finish. Let me just give you the other side. I shop at the same grocery store as everybody else does.
So you say prices are up.
Is there more work that needs to be done? Absolutely there is. That's why in the working families tax cut, we did just that. We voted not to raise everybody's taxes. Very different than what the Democrats did. So I think there's two sides of the coin that you have to take a look at. What is an incumbent on us is we must make sure that we get our voters to turn out like they did in the election year.
I mean,
no question.
Using that argument, your voters could be so happy that the Democrats take control of the House of Representatives next year. I mean,
right, and I'm very confident that we will not only hold the majority, but I am optimistic that we will actually gain the majority.
Well, that would be defying history. Congresswoman Lisa McClain from the great state of Michigan.
Fantasyland. And how can we expect anything from our political leaders? These are our lawmakers. Donald Trump signs the laws. Lisa McClain writes the laws, votes on the laws. How can we expect our situation to materially improve if they're not existing in the same reality that we are? That is a bananas thing to assert, that the reason Democrats crushed it on Tuesday night is because Republicans are so happy with Donald Trump that they stayed home. Remarkable stretch. Remarkable. What do you think? I'd love to hear from you. You can comment below this video, whether it be on Facebook or YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube and like and follow the Dollemore Daily Facebook page, please. Be a real assist for me. Be doing me a personal favor, a solid, if you will. Listen, you're not doing your patriotic duty, America, or the world for that matter, if you're not mocking the thing that is so easily mocked, and that's Donald Trump. Every single step, every move he makes is just embarrassing. I don't even know how to start this one. I mean, come on. Have you seen these pictures of the Donald Trump wants to class up the joint. He wants to make the Oval Office some gold encrusted palace-like room. He's doing the whole thing to the White House. He's literally demolishing the East Wing. And then outside the Oval Office, he put up, somebody printed out on printer paper, it looks like, the Oval Office. I don't know if this is because Donald Trump gets lost all the time and he needs directions on where to go. The only thing missing here would be like a big red arrow pointing in at the gold lettering, like, oh, it's right here, sir, with tears in our eyes. This is how to get to your office. But how strange is this? I'm going to read some reactions from people. This reminds me of those signs that you see in like people's homes, like live, laugh, love. or gather. What are some other ones? What's next for this? What's next for Donald Trump before I read these? Is he going to put up a sign in the Oval Office that just says bribes? How classy to put it on printer paper too. What do you think it should be? I'm going to read a little bit. So again, I got a Daily Beast article that it's kind of a compilation of people's reactions. What do you think? Write in the comments right now. Let's make a game out of this. Should it be like corruption, threats, and terror? Like the eat, the pray, love, or live, laugh, love, or whatever. You can make your own contribution. This is a headline from Daily Beast, though. Trump, 79. I can't wait until Donald Trump turns 80 because every headline from the Daily Beast includes his age. Trump, 80, it will read. Trump, 79, adds new sign to remind him where Oval Office is. President Donald Trump has been mocked online and now on YouTube for adding a sign to the White House to remind him where the Oval Office is. Trump, 79, who is hoping to reshape the entire White House with a gaudy Mar-a-Lago-inspired makeover, added a paper sign with gold cursive writing next to an entrance for the West Wing room in what may be his most subtle yet pointless addition to his renovation project. CNN's chief White House correspondent, Caitlin Collins, first shared a photo of the Oval Office sign on Twitter as Trump hosted a group of Republican senators for breakfast following Tuesday's crushing election defeats for the GOP. Now, as you would expect, seriously, did I not print the one? There's another one where actually it's Trump out there next to the sign. That's probably already been showed, but people obviously, predictably, went nuts on social media mocking the very mockable Donald Trump. Listen, you're not doing your patriotic duty, America, or the world for that matter, if you're not mocking the thing that is so easily mocked, and that's Donald Trump. Every single step, every move he makes is just embarrassing. It's humiliating our country on a global stage, and this is just another element of it. Printer paper. What is this? Is this just like a placeholder for the actual gold nonsense above the door? A number of social media users mocked Trump over the signage, which appeared to be a temporary measure, and raised speculation about why the man who is on track to become the oldest sitting president in U.S. history would need such a label. Patrick Rodenbush, a spokesperson for former President Barack Obama, posted on Twitter, quote, "Oh, this is very helpful. Otherwise, no one would be able to figure out the oval-shaped room in the West Wing is actually the Oval Office." Writer and comedian Akilah Hughes added, "It's so Trump doesn't take a wrong turn and end up on the roof again." Another embarrassing and quite mockable moment from the commander-in-chief of the most powerful military on the planet is when Donald Trump was just wandering around on the roof. Another Twitter user wrote, "So smart, many memory care units also label rooms so that those with dementia can remember where they are." Another said, quote, "If Joe Biden had done this, Fox News would be running nonstop coverage of how they had to label offices so Biden knew where he was going." And then, of course, the response you're waiting for, I'm sure, is what the White House said about this. And they didn't give an answer. They just attacked the messenger and the questioner by attacking the Daily Beast. In a response, White House spokesperson Davis Ingalls said, quote, "President Trump is making the White House beautiful and giving it the glory it deserves. Only the Daily Beast and people with a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome would find a problem with that." It's not only the Daily Beast, Davis Ingalls, it's also this guy and his entire audience and the rest of the rational, reasonable American population. This is weird and scary because he's the president. He makes monumental decisions. He has the nuclear codes. He has a dude who follows him around all the time with what's called the nuclear football, like a briefcase with coordinates and codes. That's Donald Trump. And he's needing, apparently, it's necessary, our bribery, corruption, extortion president needs a sign to direct him where the fucking Oval Office is. What's your opinion on this? I invite you to this very important conversation. I mean, it's more fun than anything, but still there are dangerous elements because after all, again, he is the president. You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. If you find value in what I do, please consider supporting this work, helping produce what I do right here in the four walls of this studio. You can become a channel member on YouTube by clicking the join button below. I would appreciate it very much. You can also go to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast and help support the work there. We also have a website that sells merch. My best friend wrote a children's book last year. We sell stickers and mugs with motivational and inspirational, not inspirationable sayings. And you can buy just Dollemore Daily gear. Anyway, all that goes a long way to defray production costs and to keep the lights on and support independent media.
This video captured the moment ICE agents dragged a pre-K teacher out of a daycare center on Chicago's North Side. At one point, she shouts in Spanish, "I have papers."
We not only live in a scary time in American history, we live in a time that when we look back on it, there will be evil people, complicit people who will claim, I was only doing my job. I was just following orders. Much like, you know, to beat an analogy and a comparison that gets drawn all the time, much like the soldiers within the Nazi ranks. I was just following orders. I was just doing what I was told. I didn't make the decision. I just carried out the fascism and the death and the destruction and the kidnapping and the abuse and the oppression. And we're in a situation where ICE agents, these masked armed agents of the state, the secret police force of Donald Trump, they are kidnapping people from their places of work, people who are legally here, people who have work papers to be here, as was the case in Chicago on Wednesday, when one masked thug and one unmasked thug, these secret police assholes, in a daycare, kidnapped a lady with papers, legally able to be here. Here is CBS News talking about it. And then I'm going to play a clip from Mike Quigley, who is an Illinois Democrat congressman who sat alongside an alderman for Chicago. And he said something that it's one of those things where you know what it is, and you know that it's right, but you lose sight of it, you forget it. And I think it's so important. I should lead with this, but I'm not going to. I'm going to give you, if you don't know what he's talking about, I need to give you the context. Here is CBS News explaining the arrest, the kidnapping, the abuse, and the oppression of someone who has legal right to be in the United States.
There is outrage in Chicago tonight following a federal immigration arrest at a daycare center.
While witnesses say it was a chaotic scene, officials say the daycare was not the primary target. Usher Qureshi has the story.
This video captured the moment ICE agents dragged a pre-K teacher out of a daycare center on Chicago's north side. She can be seen pleading with the agents as she's pushed up against a waiting sedan. At one point, she shouts in Spanish, "I have papers."
ICE agents followed a teacher into the facility without a warrant and abducted her in front of her students. This woman is a trusted, loved member of her community with a work permit.
Officials identified the woman as Diana Galeano, a Colombian national in the country since 2023 and seeking asylum. Children, teachers, and parents inside at the time of the arrest said they were traumatized by what they saw.
What has happened today is domestic terrorism, and it is absurd and horrific that they have now targeted our daycare centers.
Until recently, sensitive areas like schools and hospitals were generally off limits to immigration enforcement. That changed under the second Trump administration. Today's incident, the latest in a string of controversial arrests that have been happening across Chicago as part of the Trump administration's immigration crackdown.
In a statement to CBS News, the Department of Homeland Security denied targeting the daycare center.
Interesting that they weren't targeting the daycare center, yet we see them exiting the daycare center. What does it matter whether you were specifically, intentionally targeting the daycare center when armed agents of the masked men encroached upon a daycare center with young children and kidnapped their teacher? Mike Quigley talked about this, the trauma that was absolutely delivered. But he also talked about the fact that this is Donald Trump using the military as a toy, but also getting us all used to seeing this, making this kind of humdrum, the banality of evil, where we just kind of, it doesn't shock us anymore. And this is why I say we need to maintain our levels of outrage at all times. Don't get used to this shit. Don't act like this is just the new normal. It is outrageous. Watch Mike Quigley.
I can't begin to appreciate and understand what people are going through here in Chicago. This is a tyrant at his worst. He's getting you used to using the military as a toy. He's getting you used to this. He's not 1 year into his second term here. I voted to impeach the guy twice, right? So if you think, I think the alderman said it right, This isn't a continuation, it's an escalation. And frankly, you're just starting to see how horrific it can get.
He's touching on a bunch of stuff there. How long is it going to take for us to see exactly how horrific it can get? For months, I've been talking about this is where we are right now. What's it going to be like in 6 months? What's it going to be like in a year? What's it going to be like when we're butted up against the 2028 election and Donald Trump is signaling that he's not going to leave? That's if he's still alive. Again, you don't have Big Mac sauce coursing through your veins in replacing blood and live that long. You don't have your fat old man cankles on full display and live that long. You don't have your secret MRIs that you won't tell anybody about and end up living that long. But if he is, it's a problem. How horrific will things get? How bad will it be at that point if this is where we are now? Now, Alderman Andre Vasquez, an elected official in the city of Chicago, he had things to say. And I really like the energy of this fella. This is a guy who's like, look, we're past the point of being able to rely. We can't wait for elections to solve these problems, to combat fascism, to deal with these masked armed agents of the state. It's going to take community members getting out there, having your whistle, helping walk children to school. It's going to take all of us, a community, a village, if you will. Solid comments from Vasquez.
I feel the same kind of frustration I believe everybody in here feels. We get emails from neighbors all the time. What is the Chicago police going to do about it? What can you do in your level of state government? This is a different moment. We're talking about federal law enforcement and a weaponized government against its people. We're all crossing our fingers and hoping for elections to change things. But we don't have that time right now. In this moment, we've got people over at Broadview. You're talking 150 to 200 people in a place not much bigger than this, maybe 2-3 times this size. They don't have enough space to sleep in. They don't get food. And when we talk to organizations like ICER or TRP, they want those places to continue because it might be the only way to track them. People are,
but they can't be expanded.
Definitely not. But what we know is without those there, you might even not know where they are. We have, I think, over 170 citizens that have been detained. So I would say this, we've been watching as these attacks have happened to every community. They've taken away history from our black community. They've had our trans folks running around in fear. And now they're taking these actions against, whether you're undocumented or citizens, it is happening. So these are the moments in history when everyone asks themselves that same adage, right? What did we do in 1930s Germany? What did we do in 1920s Germany? It's what people are doing now. If you're anybody here in the city of Chicago and you don't have a whistle around your neck and you're not out here doing school patrol, please find time to do so. We need everyone here. They're attacking blue cities, they're attacking blue states. We need to take it that seriously. And I want to thank every single person, every organization. You guys were doing so much with so little before it got this bad. And now we need everybody in Chicago to show what Chicago is all about. So I thank all of you for that work. We're not going anywhere. We keep us safe.
Look, that advice, that direction doesn't just resonate if you're in Chicago. That's everywhere. We've seen communities rise up here in the city of Washington, D.C., a neighborhood, Mount Pleasant, a neighborhood I used to live in Columbia Heights. Absolutely, people are outraged and helping walk children to school. That are like neighborhood watch has kind of risen up, but not to watch out for criminals, not to watch out for ne'er-do-wells, but to watch out for armed agents of the state. When you have to fear your own government, a government run by the "don't tread on me" people, it's a hell of a time. History will record. People should be held to account, and following orders, my brothers and sisters in Christ, isn't going to be an excuse. You will answer for your crimes against the country. Donald Trump isn't going to be a get out of jail free card for all of you. Anyway, what do you think? I invite you to this conversation. Let's have it in the comments below. You can also call the voicemail line and leave me a fewer than 3-minute voicemail, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I'm out. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.